They call it global cooperation. They call it a great reset. They call it the New World Order. The language is sophisticated, spoken in the halls of power at Davos, the United Nations, and the World Health Organization. It promises a future of unity, sustainability, and equity, managed by a collective of the world's brightest minds. But the Bible calls it the beast's system. And it warns that this final form of global governance, built on a foundation of false promises, is being assembled right now. For centuries, the idea of a one-world government was the stuff of fiction and conspiracy. But today, the conversation is happening in the open. Global crises, from pandemics to climate change to economic instability, are being used as justification for an unprecedented level of international control. The argument is compelling. Humanity's problems are now global in scale, and they demand global solutions. National sovereignty, we are told, is an outdated concept, an obstacle to progress. But is this push for global governance truly about solving problems, or is it about consolidating power? The ancient prophets of the Bible were given a stunningly clear vision of the final act of human history, and at the center of that vision was not a world of competing nations, but a single, unified global empire that would dominate the entire planet. The stakes in understanding this prophecy are monumental. To ignore the signs is to be caught unaware by the greatest deception in human history. To see the connections between ancient texts and modern headlines is to be armed with a divine perspective, a way to make sense of the chaos and to stand firm in the truth. This is not about fear-mongering. This is about discernment. The blueprint for this final empire was first laid out over 2,500 years ago by the prophet Daniel. He interpreted a dream for the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar, a dream of a great statue made of different materials: a head of gold, chest of silver, belly of bronze, legs of iron, and finally, feet of iron mixed with clay. Daniel explained that this statue represented a succession of Gentile world empires: Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. History has confirmed Daniel's prophecy with breathtaking accuracy. But the prophecy did not end with ancient Rome. It described a final form of this empire, represented by the feet and 10 toes of iron and clay, a revived Roman Empire, a coalition of nations that would be partly strong and partly weak. This final kingdom, he prophesied, would be ruled by a figure of terrifying power, a king who would rise to oppose God. Daniel's vision provides the framework, but it's the Apostle John, in the book of Revelation, who fills in the chilling details. In chapter 13, John sees a vision of a beast rising out of the sea, a composite monster with the features of a leopard, a bear, and a lion, the very same animals Daniel used to symbolize the empires of Greece, Persia, and Babylon. This beast represents the culmination of all the godless, tyrannical power of human empires throughout history, and John tells us the scope of its authority. And authority was given it over every tribe and people and language and nation. This is the one-world government. The vision is explicit. The final global system will not be a democracy. It will be a dictatorship under the absolute rule of the figure we know as the Antichrist, who is given his power and authority directly from Satan, the dragon, described in the same chapter. Imagine the atmosphere of that time, a world so gripped by crisis and fear that it willingly trades its freedom for a promise of security. The hum of global media will broadcast the leader's message of unity, while dissent is silenced under the guise of preventing disinformation. The system will be presented as humanity's last, best hope for survival. But this global government will not just control politics, it will control the economy. Revelation 13 goes on to describe the infamous Mark of the Beast. The system will force everyone to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark. Think about the technological infrastructure required to implement such a system on a global scale. A generation ago, it would have been impossible. Today, it is not only possible, it is being developed and deployed. The global push for central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, is a critical step. Unlike decentralized cryptocurrencies, a CBDC is controlled by the state. It allows for the programming of money, the ability to track every single transaction, and the power to freeze or delete the assets of anyone deemed a dissident. Combine this with a global digital ID, which many governments are already rolling out, and you have the perfect mechanism for total control. The promise will be convenience and security. The reality will be a digital prison where financial access is tied to compliance with the state's ideology. The sound of this new economy will be the silent, frictionless swipe of a digital wallet and the silent, terrifying exclusion of anyone who refuses to conform. But the final frontier of control for this one-world system is not politics or economics, but worship. The Antichrist's ultimate goal is to be worshipped as God. Revelation 13 describes a second beast, the false prophet, who directs all worship toward the first beast. He will perform great signs and wonders to deceive the masses, even making an image of the beast that can speak. This will be the one-world religion. We see the foundations of this being laid today in the interfaith movement, the push for a global spirituality that erases the exclusive truth claims of biblical Christianity. The new global ethic will be one of tolerance and inclusion, but this tolerance will not extend to those who claim Jesus is the only way to God. That belief will be branded as hateful and dangerous, the one unforgivable sin in the New World Order. The climax of this prophetic warning is this: the one-world government, the one-world economy, and the one-world religion are not three separate things. They are an integrated system of total, absolute control, political, financial, and spiritual. It is the beast's trinity, a satanic counterfeit of the triune God, designed to enslave humanity and lead it in a final rebellion against its creator. The reveal is not that some secret group is plotting in the shadows. The reveal is that it's all happening in the open, framed as progress, and driven by a logic that a world that has rejected God will find irresistible. The fallout of this knowledge should not be panic, but preparation. The Bible doesn't give us these prophecies to scare us, but to prepare us. They are a divine assurance that God is in control, that He knows the end from the beginning, and that human history is moving toward His appointed conclusion, not a random, chaotic end. Understanding the blueprint for the coming world system allows us to see current events with spiritual eyes. It helps us to discern the difference between genuine progress and the construction of a global prison. It calls us to place our ultimate trust not in political systems or economic promises, but in the unshakable kingdom of Jesus Christ, the kingdom that will one day smash the final human empire to pieces, just as the stone in Nebuchadnezzar's dream destroyed the great statue. The story does not end with the triumph of the beast. It ends with the return of the king. If you are committed to understanding the world, not just through the lens of the nightly news, but through the timeless truth of biblical prophecy, subscribe and join us as we continue to connect the dots and provide clarity for the days ahead.